All right, we're recording.
Yes, sir.
Welcome, everyone, to the Rink Rat Report podcast, another Dog Days of Summer episode, meaning we're doing another draft.
Oh, yeah.
August 15th, as we're recording this one. You're probably listening to this, God knows when. But as always, joined by Jason.
Yeah, what's going on? I love doing these drafts. The Leafs draft was like way too much fun. I had way too much fun doing that.
Yeah, that was good.
Listen, if you're ever, I don't know, sitting around with your buddies, like this is something that you should do like around a campfire. So I don't know. It was hilarious doing the research and just thinking about it. It's just, I don't know. I love this one. It was a good one.
Nice. It was good.
It was honestly one of my favorite ones.
Diamonds in the rough with
yeah, that was the best part of the process was doing that. Absolutely.
Yeah, lots of fun there. So today we're going to be doing bounce back candidates for the 23-24 season. Not necessarily Leafs specific. However, I think there are several Leafs players that are going to be on this list. And I'm curious to see if one of us drafts them. But we're also going to be getting into, there was a signing for the Marlies, a two-way AHL signing. We'll talk about him a little bit. I don't know too much about him, but I've seen some highlights of him and they were pretty impressive. And then unfortunately, there were two passings that we have to talk about.
Yep.
Sad as always. Let's get into the passings. I mean, they happened over the last 2 days. First one, Rodion Amirov, 21 years old, had a brain tumor that was found 2 years ago in January, I remember. Like 21 years old. It's just really tough to talk about, to think about everything.
Yeah, it's horrible because again, obviously, listen, he was drafted 15th overall, I think, to the Leafs, and he was like to be among one of the best at what you do in your age group is a crazy feat, and to think about that he was doing all this stuff and he was successful in the KHL. If you go look at his numbers while he had cancer, is honestly, it's insane how much he did. But regardless of him as a player, him as a person, I was lucky enough to go to that game that he went to. And he walked out for, I forget what exactly it was. I think it was just
the Washington Capitals.
Yes,
the home opener. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and honestly, like just his energy and the way he acted, or like a lot of people would just kind of lay down and like be not woe is me. It's a terrible thing to go through, but like
Dan Milstein said it as well. He in like his post saying like Rodion Amirov has sadly passed away. He was saying is ever since the diagnosis, his energy, his positive attitude towards life, I mean, was just amazing, he was saying. And when you look at it, like even outside of the diagnosis, like there was a play, it was a shootout game on the line in the KHL, and he fumbled it. Like I posted about it. It was really funny. He just lost the puck totally. And what did he do? Laughed it off, made a couple funny videos about it, and got right back to work. Just everything you hear and see from the guy, he just seemed to be such a positive guy, and it's so sad to talk about that at 21 years old your life is taken from you.
Yeah, and that's the saddest part, is that it's a life that should have been lived, right? It's like you don't want to ever see someone that young pass away. So yeah, it's sad to see, and obviously our thoughts are with his family and his friends and those who know him well. I'm hoping that the Leafs can do something throughout the year with like a patch or something. I don't even know if that's possible.
Yeah,
but,
I think
it'd be nice to see, just because it seemed like even with his 5-day stretch he had with the team where he just kind of walked through with them, it seemed like he made an impact on some players. So obviously an infectious guy to be around. So it's just a shame that it's a shame that it happened, but he's courageous. Good for him for, again, having that positive attitude and positive outlook on life. Because again, he had no expectations to do that, and he had owed nothing to no one, and he did all this because he wanted to and he chose to. So it's important to remember. Again, obviously this is a hockey podcast, but some things are more important, right?
It's life. Yeah, it's a tough part of life. The other passing within the Leafs organization, 86-year-old Bobby Baun. He won 4 Stanley Cups with the Leafs, and his most notable feat was in 1964, Game 6 overtime. Bobby Baun scored the game winner in Game 6 overtime on a broken ankle. The Leafs were down 3-2 in the series, and he scored the game-winning goal on a broken ankle. Refused X-rays, got his leg frozen or whatever, and then scored the game winner. And then the Leafs went on to win the Stanley Cup, the 1964 Stanley Cup in Game 7. Easily after that one, the boys just rallied around him. Again, I think he was sick for a little bit. 86 years old. You know, you're losing another Leafs legend there. It's sad.
Yeah, it's never again. So. Yeah, it's sad to see, but that's a crazy story. That is a wild. I didn't know that on the broken ankle too. I guess some things in hockey never change.
Yeah. NHL alumni posted about the game. They have the clips from it as well. I definitely suggest you go take a look at that one. So sorry to start the episode on such a sad note, but such is life.
Important to talk about this stuff. Yeah. So
yep. And moving on, tough to transition from that too. I don't know what the hell to say, but the Leafs made a signing. David Ference. He was a Nashville Predators 3rd-round pick, I believe, back in the day. He went to Boston University for 4 years. He was a Hobey Baker finalist in 2019-2020. I believe that might have been the year that Dryden McKay won, or he was a finalist as well. Anyways, Dryden McKay is also in the Leafs organization. From the clips I've seen, David Ference is a very good skater.
He posted a couple that were
more than a couple highlight reel goals, man. Holy. Yeah. It seemed like from what people were saying, he was started to find his footing with the Colorado Eagles, like in the second half of the AHL season last year. So, I mean, this is a very good flyer, I would say. It's a 2-way AHL contract, so nothing really doesn't impact too much, but we'll see what he can do. And this was via Jacob Stoller. It's still not confirmed. But yeah, David Ference.
Interesting. We'll see. That's a cool little signing. Just watching those clips that you posted on Twitter, he had a couple. He's a fun player to watch. He's like a fun guy to watch, even if he's like a career AHLer. Like, I don't know. It's it's just it's dog days of summer. We gotta talk about something. But it's just go check out our Twitter and watch watch those clips that were posted. Yeah, that was crazy. That was honestly crazy and electric to watch. You know what made me realize? Like, I thought I needed a break from hockey after the playoffs. I cannot wait for it to start again. I honestly cannot wait. Just seeing that one clip, I was like,
we got the rookie tournament coming up in September.
Yeah, let's freaking go. So yeah.
Unfortunately, the game times are always at like when you're supposed to be working. So whatever.
Have it on in the background. Anyways. Doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah. So those were our notes to get through there. Before we move on to our draft, we have a little message from our friends at Manscaped. If you haven't heard already, it's smooth sack summer. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're scaped from pubes to bum. That's right. This is the summer to keep your balls cool while still looking hot with Manscaped. The leaders in below the waist grooming are making sure we all have a ball this summer by giving our pants partners everything they need to stay fresh. Use our code RINKRAT, RINKRAT, and get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. That is RINKRAT. 20% off free shipping. I will say Manscaped did save me. I was on vacation in Florida. I forgot my keys in the condo I was staying at. I got locked out, had to stay at a Best Western. Probably shouldn't have said the name.
No free advertising.
Few creepy crawlies in that place. It was a good rate. That's why I got it. But there was a few creepy crawlies in that place. And, maybe if I wasn't scaped from bum to head or whatever the ad says here, I might have been coming home with something. But I was.
I don't know if that's how it works, but
yeah, it was.
You'd think you get like maybe some protection from those creepy crawlies, but I see what you're getting at there. I guess. I don't know.
Crabs.
Yeah. I don't know if that's
Manscaped, Rink Rat, RINKRAT, 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com.
Just a disclaimer, there's no guarantee that if you shave your pubes with Manscaped products, you're not guaranteed to get crabs. So just be careful.
Thank you for adding that.
Yeah. But all right. I don't know how we're going to transition off of this, but I have my own little.
You get first overall, bounce back candidates.
All right. So I'm going to go first.
I'm fired up for this one.
All right. So let quickly outline like what describe like a bounce back candidate in your eyes, because I think there's multiple ways of us interpreting this.
Yeah.
And we discussed it a bit before, but we want to keep everyone informed. We don't want to keep anything that close to the vest here. So yeah, tell us what, in your eyes, what does it mean to be a bounce back candidate?
So essentially, it's a player like that has had some success in the past, didn't have the best season last year relative to expectation, or just overall did not play very well at all, and you think is going to play up to their expectation or even exceed their expectations next season. So, for example, like Jamie Benn this past year was would have been a good pick if you did him last season, even though
We
seemed
didn't.
like how would you know?
Yeah.
Like that was a crazy one there. But that's just a good example of it. Right.
Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah. So I see that as bounce back. And like I think it's all relative to expectation, right? So if a guy is like maybe expected to be a second liner, but they played like literally we're getting healthy scratched every week, in my eyes, if they go back to being a second line player, that's considered a bounce back. Whereas some people might consider a guy who's playing on the first line, maybe had like second line point production, and they're going back to first line, they might be more of a bounce back candidate in their person's side. So it can all be interpreted different ways. So that's kind of how I see it. Is I think rooting in expectation, like you said, is important. So how do we want to do this draft? Because last time, if I remember correctly, I got the second pick.
Yeah. So you get first pick.
I get first pick this draft.
3 forwards, 2D, and one goalie.
Okay. And do we want to go in order of goal? Like, do you want to just go any particular order, or how do you want to do it?
It can be random. Doesn't matter.
Okay, so I don't have to draft forward.
Draft just like we did last time.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you can pick whoever you want.
That's beautiful, because I already know one of the people who you're gonna pick, and I know for a fact. I knew for a fact before we even discussed like potentially guys we might pick. I knew for a fact you were gonna pick this guy before you even said anything to me, because I don't know if there's a more obvious bounce back candidate on D in the entire NHL, and it is John Klingberg. This guy was literally a Norris Trophy candidate like just under 3 years ago. He made the worst decision of his life, signing in Anaheim, passing on that 7-year deal, signing a 1-year deal with Anaheim. Horrible decision. This guy has a lot riding on this year. And I mean, everything is in place for him to be the perfect bounce back candidate. Will he go back to Norris Trophy status? No, I'm not saying that. He was one of the worst defensive players in the NHL last year, and his offensive upside was just above league average according to some models. So his biggest part of his game, his offense wasn't there. His defense was horrendous. Now, obviously he was playing with Anaheim. Anaheim sucks. It's not a secret, right? They're probably one of the worst teams in the NHL. But now, what team is he on now? Our buddy upstairs.
The most important team in the NHL. I'll tell you that for free.
Our buddy upstairs signed John Klingberg, brought him in. There is a vision for this team. I don't think that was done just out of just, oh, let's sign John Klingberg. No, there was a vision from the entire organization that this guy will fit on this team. So, I mean, the way the Leafs play should benefit how John Klingberg plays, right? We like to play, we like to let our defensemen go. Like we've seen, like, I know not many people like Justin Hall, but Justin Hall was put up a decent amount of points for the Leafs, right? He had 43 points, 25 points, 41 points, 39 points. He has 150 career NHL points in 285 games. That is crazy. He has a 0.5 point per game as a defenseman in the NHL. That is bananas. To think that John Klingberg, essentially not in the Justin Hall role, but kind of filling his spot similarly in the roster, to think that he's not going to come out and score maybe 40, 50 points. We don't even know if he's going to be on the first power play. There's a good chance he might be on the first power play. The sky is the limit for John Klingberg. Now, I'm not going to say his defensive issues are going to go out the window, but I think it's fair to say that the Leafs forward and the Leafs in-zone structure is much better defensively, given their track record over the last couple of years, than the freaking Anaheim Ducks, okay? So there's my pick. First overall, you got to take him. Hometown kid. Not really hometown, but plays for our team. John freaking Klingberg. He's American, no? Like, I'm pretty sure he's American. I don't know.
John Klingberg. Dude, he's Swedish.
Swedish. What am I saying?
We have to. He is Swedish.
He's
right?
Swedish, yeah. No,
we have that wrong, then we're the biggest donkeys on planet
Earth. Klingberg. That was the dumbest thing ever. Anyways,
Okay. Okay. He is Swedish. 100. I had to get
he's
that
100%
right.
Swedish. Yeah. He's 100% Swedish.
Okay.
His last name is Klingberg, dude. He's 100% Swedish.
I don't know. Swedish, Finnish. I don't know. I don't know. Okay.
You're good. Careful. You're gonna get canceled. Careful. No.
I'm done. Yeah. All right.
So that was my first pick.
I was on the fence with that one. But I do understand it 100%.
So you weren't gonna pick him?
No, I had him on my list. Okay, However, I was thinking, like, obviously he had the worst year of his career. Still got life in him. Not that old, right? Like, coming to a better team, but he's a player that you have to play in specific scenarios and specific roles in order for him to excel. I think he played pretty well with Minnesota, especially considering they put him on the left side sometimes too in the playoffs. But again, he's a specialty kind of player. So are the Leafs going to be able to afford to put him in those specialty kind of positions for him to be like a 60-point guy again?
Yeah.
He's hit 60.
That's
right?
For sure. I'm almost 100%. I'm pretty sure he almost hit 80. No, he didn't. He hit 67 and 82. 67. But his biggest years were in the COVID years where he only played 50 games.
Okay. Yeah. And he Stanley Cup finalist too. So there's
21 points.
It's a solid pick. It's a solid pick. My first pick.
Let's hear it.
Austin Matthews.
Okay. All right.
40 goals. Enough. I broke down the numbers on Twitter somewhere, and I can't even remember them. Actually, do I have them right here? If I do, that'd be the biggest win ever. Nope. Oh, my goodness. I'm fumbling it right now. Oh, I got it right here. Austin Matthews. Again, only 40 goals this past year. From 60 some odd to 40. It's a pretty big drop. We were saying, on a 60-goal year, at the beginning of last year, remember what we were saying? At the beginning of a 60-goal year, he started slow. It took him a while. It took to the West Coast trip for him to start getting going again. And then in April, nobody could stop him. The puck was just automatically going in. This guy could score 70 this year. He scored 40 this year. Never really took off. And when you break down the numbers, that's the wrong player. I have it here somewhere. I believe it's Austin Matthews' mid-danger goals. Yes, here it is. Yeah. So when you look at it, 2022, so this past season, he had, at 5-on-5, he had 3 high-danger goals, 5 medium danger goals, and 18 low-danger goals. Last season, he had 4 high-danger goals, 16 medium danger goals, and 18 low danger goals. This is all according to Money Puck. The medium danger goals just dried up for whatever reason. Maybe an off season, get that wrist healthy again. Maybe you watch some tape, what happened. I still want to go through and see what did happen, because a drop of 11 5-on-5 medium danger goals is quite significant, is it not?
Yeah. So
right.
This is like kind of going on a tangent, but in my head, the reason why that would happen is potentially 2 things. One is a wrist injury. Obviously, he was coming back from that wrist injury, the wrist surgery, supposed to be 100%, but maybe it takes some time for him to get used to it, or maybe he's just never going to go back to that player as a result. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I can't even say that. But also another thing, like maybe he's just could be line mates.
Figured him out. Line mates.
Yeah,
maybe he's playing with Tyler Bertuzzi this year and Mitch Marner. That could be a big one, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at it, shooting percentage dropped from 15.57 at 5-on-5. Shooting percentage dropped from 15.57 in 21-22 to 11.16 this past season, a drop of 4.41%. I think Austin Matthews can get back to 50 goals, in my opinion.
I think so too, and I think that's a great pick. Something else that I think we mentioned a lot last year that is getting I don't want to say swept under the rug, but is not really getting noticed by many people if they talk about Matthews' kind of downswing. His assists. We talked about this a lot. He was moving the puck a lot more, and his expected numbers in assists and shot creation, his chance creations were up year over year, right? So he was actually creating more, And maybe that was like kind of one of his goals coming into this last season, right? Let me just paint a picture here. Austin Matthews comes off 60 goals. He says, what can I do to improve as a player to help this team out, right? I just scored 60 goals. There's probably not much I can do with my shot to improve. So what am I going to do? I'm going to figure out how to be more deceptive on the puck, draw more people in, and create opportunities for my teammates. That's what I see a kind of path where the line of thinking that Austin Matthews is going through. Now, he had the wrist injury and he was struggling. So maybe that deteriorated his ability to score goals, right? So maybe that's where it's coming from. But to say that he's a bounce back candidate, I think that's a great pick.
Okay. And there's also this. When you look at his line mates from the previous year, the most common ones throughout the entire, for I'd say 75% of the season, were Mitch Marner, Michael Bunting. Now you mix in some Calle Yarncroc, you mix in some William Nylander. That's really going to help with the primary assist too. You can't, like, there's only one puck. These are all 3 shooter guys, right? So I think that the playmaking did improve, but yes, my bounce back candidate is Austin Matthews. And because it's a snake, I get the second pick too. And who am I going with here? I know, like, you better believe this is a Leafs podcast, and I'm going with another Leaf. I'm going with Tyler Bertuzzi. And why, you might say, I've spoken so highly of him, so glowingly of him. The first, I think it was 15 games or so with the Red Wings, he was coming back from injury. He got injured again, and he was really, really slow. When you look at the overall numbers, 32 points in 50 games. At 5-on-5, his shooting percentage dropped 10.28%. Right? Yes, 10.28%. Just craziness. He's going to be in the top 6. He's going to be getting some good opportunities. I really like him as a player. And then at 5-on-5, his on-ice shooting percentage even dropped by 1.42% from 21-22, where he had that 62 points in 68 games season, to 22-23 when he had 32 points in 50 games played. Opportunity, healthy, bounce back. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John.
That's honestly hilarious, but also a great way to put it. Because again, like you said, better ingredients, better pizza, better teammates, better production, right? So, listen, I know that he didn't have the best year last year, but just looking up his numbers, I didn't think he was that bad to warrant him to be like a bounce back, right? But maybe he exceeds my expectations, right? Because the thing that's at the forefront of my mind is the 21 games he played with the Boston Bruins, put up 16 points. Then the 7 games he played in the playoffs, put up 10 points. That's 28 games. He put up 26 points to end his year in a new location. But again, like you said, injury history, right? Like he struggled to stay on the ice. So maybe him playing 3/4 of a season is like enough where obviously his production is going to be there, but him playing 3/4 of a season, that alone will just make him a bounce back.
Yeah. And I think when you look at this raw numbers, raw point totals from last year, you compare it to this coming year. At the end of this coming year, what will the differential be? And I think it will be a pretty substantial number.
I like that.
Some reasoning. So you're up.
Listen,
see it.
I like that pick. I like that because, again, I love Leafs. This is a Leaf podcast, and I like how homerish we are with 3 bounce back candidates are on the Maple Leafs. So, I'm not going to disagree with those two for sure. So for me, this bounce back candidate had, for my next pick, he had sky high expectations going into last year. When I mean sky high, I mean the year previous, he was one of the 3 nominated for the Hart. He was a guy who people looked at as an elite player among the best offensive players in the entire league 2 years ago. Then last year happens, and he comes crashing down to planet Earth. He got traded in a trade in the offseason last year. And when he was with his new team, fans were rightfully disappointed with him. Didn't have the best year, but that was last year. And this is this year. And I expect this guy to have a much much better year this year. I'm kind of painting the tapestry. If you've already guessed them, kudos to you, because my bounce back candidate is Jonathan Huberdeau. In 2021-2022, he had 115 points in 80 games, 30 goals, 85 assists, 115 points. Last year, got traded to Calgary in that big deal. I'm sure we all know a lot about that, right? But, I mean, the Calgary Flames wanted to compete. They were in a pretty important, they had like an important 2-year window to figure things out after moving off Matthew Tkachuk. Treliving did a great job extending their window a couple of years by making this trade. But it didn't work out the way they wanted to, right? Sutter didn't really play him in the correct opportunities. Huberdeau never really found his footing. In 2022-2023, 79 games played, 15 goals, 40 points. He had 55 points. He dropped off literally 60 points from the previous year. I don't know if there's ever been a player to get that big of a drop off. Now, a few of them were on the power play. His power play production wasn't as good as last year. You helped me by putting together this little points per 60 sheet. He was among the highest. I believe his points per 60 from year over year was minus 0.87. So in 2022 to 2023, he had 2 points per 60. In 2021, 2022, he had 2.9 points per 60. That is a massive drop. He literally, his point total got slashed in half. I don't think we've ever seen a drop off like that in recent history. It's literally a nuclear drop off. So I expect Jonathan Huberdeau to be a massive bounce back candidate this year, simply because Daryl Sutter, it was reported he wasn't having a great time with him. He's gone, right? Fresh slate, new team, new kind of organizational leadership, right? It's almost like this year feels like a fresh start for the Calgary Flames. Yeah. Last year was, how are we going to do without Matthew Tkachuk? That's in the past now. We are in a fresh start. So new coach, new GM, new everything. Well, everything's going to be new for them, and it'll be a blank slate. And I think that's going to be great for Jonathan Huberdeau. I don't think he's going to get 115 points next year, but I think he could sniff 70 to maybe a point per game, maybe even higher, right? All it takes is for that power play to click, for him to be playing the right spots, and I think he can definitely do it. So, yeah.
Jonathan so the Huberdeau, drop in 5-on-5 points per 60, as you mentioned, that was the 20th biggest drop from 21-22 to 22-23. So, and obviously 115 points. What was his like 115 to what, 55? Like that's a 60-point drop or whatever.
60-point drop. Literally a 60. Yep.
Just great. Disgusting. So, new coach, I think getting used to living in Calgary, getting paid egregious amounts of money to put up 55 points. I think we'll see an increase there 100%. That's a fantastic pick.
Thank you.
Makes me want to kick you out of the Google Doc.
I came up with these before the doc, but the doc helped me get the stats because they were like on the I have a couple from Calgary. I don't know if I'm going to get to them because I have a bit of a list, but before I get into my next pick, I want to remind everyone that if you're a new customer, you can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN, and you bet just $5 and you get to score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 1-800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. In West Virginia, gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. All games regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly in partnership with Hollywood Casinos at Charlestown Races. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. 1 bet per eligible game. Opt-in required. Max bet $50. 10+ leg requirement for 100% boost. Eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions may apply. Fumble my words. I did it way better last week when I was like literally dying of sickness than this week, which is just a crazy thing to think about. But
the funny thing is now you have to talk more. You have another pick.
Oh yeah, I'm good. Listen, I'm good. It's just the numbers really fudge me up there. There are a lot of numbers, and it's like the way I have it set it up is just it's hard to read. So, anyways, all right. My next pick. My next pick is, I want to say, a guy who maybe, I don't know if it's a bounce back in the sense that I don't know if he'll return to his former self because he hasn't been there in a while, but I think it will be a bounce back in respect from the entire league, right? That's what I'm going with my bounce back player here. He was just traded in this offseason, and he was traded for essentially nothing. I don't want to say who he was traded for because it's going to give away the pick, and I want to paint the picture first. He was traded for essentially nothing. Now, he wasn't on the best team for his needs beforehand, I don't think. I think this team that he played for was more of a defensive structured team, and I think he's a better player out of that structure. And I think in his new team, he's going to have a ton of opportunity to succeed. Kind of like what you mentioned with Tyler Bertuzzi, where better line mates, right? Better production, better ingredients, better pizza. So yeah, I think in this new opportunity that the team he got traded to, I think that he is going to perform a lot better. And another thing is that he was traded on a retained salary. And this is a purely anecdotal, no stats, no evidence to back this up. But I really think these guys feel a lot less pressure when they make a lot, like when on the books, they're making less money. Maybe they don't give a shit, but I could see guys who are dealt on retained deals maybe feel a little bit of pressure alleviated off himself. Because, before he was worth $8 million. Now to the team he plays for, he's only worth $4 million. So that's kind of the standard that he set himself to. And if you haven't guessed by now, you probably have. My pick is Ryan Johansson. Now, what are my expectations for Ryan Johansson this year? I don't know if he'll return to a point per game player that I don't know if he was ever a point per game player, but I really think he's going to have one of his best seasons here in Colorado. He was really good 2 years ago, right? He was really good with that national pressure. He almost had like a little renaissance year. That was his bounce back year. But I think he's going to bounce back even harder in 2023, 2024, especially after his season in 2022, 2023, where he only put up 28 points in 55 games. That year previously in 21-22, he put up 26 goals, 63 points, 79 games. I mean, listen, he's on the Avalanche now. I think the sky is the limit for him with the pieces that are going to be surrounding him. I think he's in the correct fit. I think he has enough skill to be a legit contributor on this team. And if he can make the first power play, I don't think it's too egregious that he sniffs 60, 70 points. Fair?
60, 70 points. Holy smokes. I mean, when you look at it,
first power play.
He is replacing JT Compher, who had 52 points, right?
Exactly. And would you say the offensive upside of Johansson is better, even though he's 32 now, 33?
Yeah.
31.
I wonder though, so the big drop was he had in 79 games, he had 63 points in like the previous season. This past season in 55 games, he had 28 points. So clear drop there. Shooting percentage at all situations dropped 8%. At 5-on-5, his shooting percentage dropped 5.43%. So I think though the issue is with that pick, is that he was shooting so hot the season before, and it only resulted in 63 points. That's where fair. He had 64, and then he 19-20, nothing really. 2021, nothing really. Last season, pretty good. And then back kind of down to earth. He is playing with better players. He's playing on a better offensive team. He will be getting better minutes. I mean, as I mentioned with JT Compher, he was playing with a little bit of Val Nichushkin and a lot of Mikko Rantanen. So, you give Ryan Johansson Mikko Rantanen, could he go back to 60 points? Maybe. So it's an interesting pick. I can see it either way. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that one.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think for him, is it now that I say it, it sounds a little harder, but all he has to do is score. Like he's basically scored 14 goals consistently almost his entire career. He's pretty consistent, like 26 goals. I'm not going to expect him to get that. If he can get to 20 goals, he only has to get 40 assists playing with some psychotically good players, right?
Yeah.
Like not only is it the forwards that he's going to be paired with, like think about how many points he's just going to get passing the puck to Cale Makar of all people. Like who knows how many minutes he's going to get with him? That guy can do whatever he wants. So like the opportunity is there for him to get 20 goals, 40 assists. I think it's possible for him. So yeah, I'm not, and you weren't like shitting on it. I just want to round it up. With that. Yeah, like
bringing up,
contextualizing it.
Yeah, contextualizing the numbers, I would say.
Yeah, so
it's an interesting pick, though.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's a good opportunity for a guy that's kind of declining, like plain and simple.
Exactly.
Right? And he was dumped. He was dumped by the Nashville Predators, who they dumped him. They dumped Matt Duchene, who was making a lot of money too. But then they brought in guys, Ryan O'Reilly, Luke Shen, someone else, I can't remember. So I don't know what the Nashville Predators are doing, but we do know what the Colorado Avalanche are doing. They're trying to win. So up next, my next pick, I have 2 on the board here. I am floundering. So you know what? There's just so many options, and this damn spreadsheet is tripping me up. So you know what? Someone I did put out there, who are your bounce back candidates, and our resident Dave fan sends, God, unreal words here, said Tarasenko. It's going to be playing in the top 6.
Wow,
right?
I wonder why he said that.
I know. He actually gave me 2 from 2 different accounts.
Okay.
Both
on the Sens. Yeah, of course.
But when you look at it, like Vlad Tarasenko, in terms of his drop in, where are we? 5-on-5 points per 5-on-5 points per 60. His differential, it was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Learning how to count here. 5th highest drop in 5-on-5 points per 60. Again, though, as I mentioned with Brian Johansson, he was shooting very hot the season before. 16.67% 5-on-5 shooting percentage is very, very high. And then down to 10.71 last year. So an extremely high drop and then cooled off. He is a very good shooter, though. Can he get back up to 12, 13? Maybe if he's playing with Tim Stützle. Oh, God. Right? So that's something to consider there. You do also have to consider, though, when he moved to the Rangers, his underlying numbers didn't change too much. So what kind of player are they getting? I think they're still getting a guy that can really shoot the puck. And if he's playing with Tim Stützle, as I'm being told here, I think a bounce back is a no-brainer. So I'm going to go with Vlad Tarasenko. Why not? Round up my forwards.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he obviously didn't have the best year last year, right? Let me just pull up his numbers just to make sure. But like, I mean, I can see
some odd points in 69 games. I think it was something like that. So
yeah,
all right.
It's just such a tough thing to bounce back from. 50 points in 69 games. That's pretty good. But again, he got 82 and 82 points
on ice shooting games. Percentage dropped 2.39%. But as I remember, if you remember, that Blues team that year was shooting so hot. Yeah. Last year, though, they did run into injuries, so that did really affect it. That did really affect his numbers. But then, like, did he really rebound with New York? No. But the opportunity I think he has with the Senators is massive.
Fair enough.
However, I mean, I have to keep going back. I know it's my pick, but I have to keep like going back on it and kind of stomping on it because it is the Senators. I mean, he could be like a certain Russian player that they signed. I believe it was 2 years, $5 million per, former Ranger as well. What happened when he came here from Montreal, came to Ottawa from Montreal? And that's Alex Kovalev.
Oh,
ooh,
forgot about that guy.
That's
a puck Duco in the back of the head stash. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who did Kovalev play for? It was Pittsburgh. It was New York. And then he went to Montreal. And then he went to the Senators, and then he went back to Pittsburgh, and then he went to like Florida
Panthers.
randomly.
Yeah, you literally got all of them. That's absurd. You got to start posting your puck Dukos more on Twitter. I don't know if people are. Anyways,
I know.
yeah, I'm getting sidetracked.
So
I'm getting sidetracked. Listen, Tarasenko, good pick. I was just gonna say, career perennial 30 goal scorer. Got derailed by injuries. Scored 30 goals 2 years ago. I know you said high shooting percentage, but still, he's a guy who I think that doesn't apply to because of his history and track record. And yeah, like only 18 goals last year. I know I poo-pooed on his points, saying, "Oh, it's gonna be hard to." But listen, if he can continue those assists and score 30 goals like he normally does, especially playing with Tim Stützle, it shouldn't be not too hard, but it shouldn't be much harder than who he was playing with before. Like, it's doable. I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm. So I think it was an all right pick.
Yep.
Again, I'm trying to buy some time because I'm trying to pull up some numbers.
You're going to buy some time.
That's specialty here.
You're good.
Some
you're
specialty
good
numbers. So I have all my 3 forwards done, right? And now I'm on to either defense or goaltending. Which one do I want to do there? Lots of good candidates for both of them. But yeah, who am I going to pick? Do I go back to the Leafs well?
So here's the thing. I'm going to go goaltending next round. I don't know if our goaltenders are going to cross, but maybe you want to secure your goaltender. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to go with Morgan Riley. Another suggested pick from the Instagram from Nick Guida. Thank you for that one.
Holy smokes.
Got to have as many Leafs on my team as possible, right? But with Morgan Riley, the numbers do back it up. 5-on-5 points per 60, a drop of 0.41, which was the 20th biggest drop amongst defensemen. When you look at the shooting percentage, again, another drop, 0.92% drop. On ice shooting percentage, 2.41% drop. I mean, I think if he plays more games, I think he missed only like 17 or so. But if he continues to play, here's where it could get interesting though. Could he get moved off of power play 1? That'll affect his all situations points total.
Yeah.
So there is that. But I think the 5-on-5 numbers will rebound. It took him like 2 months, I think, to score 2 goals or something like that. He played very, very well in the playoffs. So I'm picking this one for Nick Guida. Morgan Riley.
Fair enough. And I was thinking, I know that point total wise and like production wise, from the outsider's point of view, just looking at a box score and looking at guys' numbers, you think, okay, he's on the power play, he's not getting much more points. And yeah, that's going to happen if he's not on power play 1. But I really think maybe part of the reason why we got Klingberg was to alleviate that PP1 playing time, because Morgan Riley played a lot of freaking minutes for us. And I think the biggest thing that he did was help out at 5-on-5 when he was amazing for us. When he was good for us, he was really good at 5-on-5. This year, like you said, he was horrible. Gar, he had a 1.5 goals above replacement at 5-on-5. That is basically league average on 5-on-5 offense, even strength offense. In 21-22, he had he had a 7.5 goals above goals these are expected goals above replacement. So that's a difference of a crazy amount. That's an difference of 6 expected goals, right? Not normal expected goals above replacement level. So we're using Z scores, and like the further away you are from average, the further you get down that line, the more valuable that becomes, the fewer players that occupy those tiers. So we're talking about a guy who's honestly, I thought he's always been pedestrian on the power play. I don't think he's ever been really that good. I think he's been propped up by the guys around him. I think alleviating that power play time is going to help him out tremendously at 5-on-5. And I think, listen, if someone doesn't consider him bounce back candidate because he gets like the same amount of points, but they're all at 5-on-5, then they're not looking at the right stuff anyways. And I don't want to hang out with those people. So you can find another crew to hang out with, right?
Numbers without context can be useless. We'll say that.
So
you're up with your 2 picks. I have successfully picked all players that play on Ontario teams. So that's kind of funny.
That's all right. So I mentioned that I was going to go goalie, and it's a little tougher because it's like, how do you quantify goalies' stats, right? Like everyone knows my view of goalies. Yeah, it's however you want. No, but everyone knows my view on goalies. They're voodoo. They're random. But this one guy in particular, I think, had such a poor year last year. He's like a low-hanging fruit for me to be snatch him up, bite that apple, and take that bounce back candidate for him. And this guy again. We got another Calgary Flames player, and again, you're probably gonna guess it because Calgary Flames goalie. Who could it be?
Jacob Markstrom.
And well, yeah, it's Jacob Markstrom.
Easy.
I
don't know what the numbers are, but off the rush, he was horrible last year. And again, he went from bad to Vezina candidate back to bad. And it's just like a mental battle with him. I think a new head coach will do him well, just a reset over the summer. I think he still can be a very good goaltender. That's why I think it could be an incredible pick.
It's a
Calgary was a good team last year.
Exactly.
They could not put the puck in the back of the net for whatever reason, and they couldn't buy a save. So
it's a confidence thing, and I think it'll help. Like it'll be a trickle down effect with this team. This team is just a bounce back team in general next year. But again, just looking at some numbers, save percentage last year he was an 8.92. That was his lowest save percentage.
8.92.
That was his lowest save percentage in his career, where he was actually playing meaningful games. I mean, his worst year was he's 879 in 2014, 2015, but he played 3 games. That doesn't count. So he played 12 games for the Panthers, was an 874. Like those games don't count. Right?
Way ago.
Right. Like the games where he played meaningful playing time. His worst year was 2 years. Like his worst year other than last year was 2 years ago, 904. Like that's not that bad. That's like shooting percentage.
It was. He started okay, and then he started to taper off. It was a meh season, especially in the first year of such a big deal, $36 million contract. But it's a great pick.
The important thing is save percentage is going down year over year too, right? So,
could it come back up?
Maybe. It's just maybe people are getting better at shooting. I don't know. It's like a cat and mouse game. But yeah, 9. Like last year, he had a 922. Is it crazy to think that he goes back to like a 912 after being at an 892 last year? Like that's. No. I don't think that's crazy. So
that's an increase of 0.2, which is huge.
It's massive, massive when you talk
about. That's a few wins right there. No
literally.
joke. That's a few wins.
So Markstrom's my guy.
System could help too. We'll see.
Exactly. New coach, everything there. So again, just copy and paste all the reasons for Huberdeau. Add that onto Markstrom. For my next pick, before I get into it, I want to talk to you guys quickly about our sponsors over at Raycon. Even if you're not going on vacation, summer is all about having a vacation state of mind, whether I want to listen to Taylor Swift on repeat or I just need to retreat inside my own head for a bit. I love creating my own summer soundtrack by popping in my Raycon wireless earbuds. There's so much going on all summer. Sometimes you need some upbeat music to pump you up before you see people or to stay calm with some guided meditation. Personally, I love listening to Dallas Green and our boy Ryan O'Reilly on the way home from the gym. Like, I don't know. Like I'm a psycho. But anyways, let me tell you right now, Raycons are the best way to listen to that kind of music. Use your earbud tap functions to toggle between 3 customizable sound profiles, noise isolation, and awareness modes. Raycons have a 32-hour battery life, including 8 hours of playtime, so you can listen to what you want, when you want, for a really long time. They come with custom gel tips for the most comfortable in-ear fit. They start at half the price of other premium audio brands, but they sound just as good. Raycons also come with a 30-day happiness guarantee. So, I mean, you really can't lose with this one, guys. Create your own soundtrack with Raycon right now. Rink Rat Report listeners can get 15% off their Raycon order at buyraycon.com/THPN. That is buyraycon.com/THPN to save 15% on Raycons. The website, one more time, buy, Raycon, RAYCON.com/THPN. That one was a lot better.
That was 10 out of 10.
Not good improvising the artist on the spot, but we'll work on it. I'll come up with more clever artists.
It was a good one.
Maybe I'll do Hall & Oates next time. Speaking of which, maybe we should, I wonder if we're going to have a new goal song this year. Anyways, this is a conversation for another day.
Probably not,
all right, my bounce back candidate. So this one might be this one. People are going to debate me on this one if it's a bounce back candidate, but I'm going to build the case for it to be a bounce back candidate. So the reason why people are going to debate me is because this player had 50 points in 2021, 2022. Okay. He had 42 points in 2022, 2023. That's not that much of a drop-off, right? But the drop-off comes in the underlying numbers. He was looked at as one of the better players at his position, according to Evolving Wild. If I can just pull up his numbers in a second here. In 2021, 2022, he was ranked 85th percentile in the entire NHL. In 2022-23, he was ranked 24th percentile in the entire NHL. Now, some of that might have to do with how data is collected, maybe giving too much respect or credit to his line mates,
circumstances, whatever.
Right? There's some flaw in this stuff, but that's why I think he's a bounce back candidate for me, because I don't think he's a 25th percentile player. I don't even think he's an 85th percentile player. I think he's very close and eventually will become a 90, 95 percentile player. He's not there yet. I don't know if he'll get there this year, but I'm calling a massive bounce back for Moritz Seider. That's my guy, Moritz Seider.
More side, yeah.
So,
okay.
Listen,
I think it was they were not like his partner at the beginning of the year was Ben Sherratt, and they were just horrible together.
Yep.
Playing more, I think he was playing heavier minutes. Don't quote me on that, but playing with Jake Wallman last year, he was awesome. And guess who his partner is this year? They locked him up, Jake Wallman. So you could argue maybe it's a breakout candidate. I understand what you're saying there. Like, I think he was 50 some odd points in his rookie year. I'm not sure how it went last year. Can't quite remember. But yeah, I mean, I could see it. It's a pretty. I mean, the wings are improved as well, so that could help it as too. I mean,
better toppings, better.
Bit of a bounce back, bit of a breakout. Who knows? I mean, that's a good. It's a decent talking point there. But I think just speaking in the positive light of Moritz Seider, I think is the correct direction to go, because 100%. I think he's an animal of an athlete. So.
That's kind of what I'm going with here. I'm betting on the talent. Maybe it's not a bounce back for some people because maybe he didn't prove enough in that rookie year. But his underlying numbers, you talk to any of these advanced metrics guys, they were all over him that rookie year. And I don't just watching him, like I watched a bit of him in his rookie year. I watched a bit of him in his second year. There's nothing that changed. It was simply like you said, just maybe it was him playing with Ben Sherratt. And who knows? Maybe they gave too much credit to Jake Wallman while he's on the ice, but I think that he is. I think he's primed for a bounce back or breakout, whatever you want to call it. So that's my that's my pick. So you got two more.
Yeah, drop in two. He had a drop in 2 even strength points. Overall points, he dropped 8. Same amount of games from last year to this past year. So I think it's a decent. You'd expect a 20, 21-year-old to only be going up, but I think that's a decent bet for a bounce back, even though it's not like he played like total shit. He is 21 years old, partner, team wasn't very good, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there is a case to be made there. So
part of the reason why I picked him as well is because I honestly struggle to find bounce back defensemen. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm missing something, but I'm curious to see who your defenseman you had. Did you pick 2 already? No, you had Riley.
I have 1.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see who your defensemen are, because I struggled looking for defensemen. Forwards is a lot easier because you can just kind of use point totals and go from there. But defensemen, there's a little more nuance and context. And I think hopefully people understand the nuance and context of me saying Moritz Seider as a bounce back.
Maurice.
You're
French. Moritz.
Our
German is
Maurizio.
Moritz Seider. Okay, it's a good one. It's tough. This is a tough one. I mean, I gotta look up one number. I'll look up something. I'm on the fly here. I thought I had a good one.
So what do you have left? Goalie and D? You have goalie and D left, I'm pretty sure.
I have a goalie and I have a D, and I have a goalie that I'm like, could be a hot one, but injuries are an issue, but the issue is also I'm not that in love with how good he is. I don't think he's that good.
Okay.
So that is something there. You know what? I'm going to go in net. I'm going to go Marc-Andre Fleury. I think the crease was stolen from him by what's his name from Ottawa? Gustafsson. No, Jonas Gustafsson stole the crease from him. Oh my God, that's only a 908 this past year. Last year was a 908 as well, but played on Chicago for a while. It was only a 910 in Minnesota. He goes through these peaks and valleys when you look at his career. I understand he is going to be 39 years old, but when you look at it, like listen to these numbers. 921 with Pittsburgh, 909 with Pittsburgh, 927 with Vegas, 913 with Vegas, 905 with Vegas, 928 Vezina winner with Vegas, 908, and then 908. I think he's going to settle more into the role of, okay, Gustafsson is going to be stealing a lot of starts from me. I'm going to be splitting them in half. I'm not going to be a workhorse anymore. I think he's going to understand his role more, and it's going to alleviate some pressure from him. And when you alleviate pressure from Marc-Andre Fleury, he plays better, we find. I mean, look at the transition from Pittsburgh to Vegas. Oh my God, that was night and day in terms of his performance there. So I'm going with the philosophical approach here. We both selected goalies. So my other one I had on there was Cam Talbot. This past year, I think he was playing okay at times, but then injuries hit. He's 35 years old, and just the play went downhill from there. Ottawa's not the easiest team to play in front of, but he didn't play very well, plain and simple. Now he's going to LA. LA gives goalies the easiest time. So if there's a spot just to bounce back from, it's LA.
That's fair.
Is the goalie going to bounce back? 35 years old, coming off an injury-riddled season. It's tough to sell it on that one. I'll bet on the Flower over Cam Talbot. I'll tell you that for free.
And I like what you mentioned with Marc-Andre Fleury, with him alleviating pressure. He just seems to that's when he's at his best. If you look back, it's the years where he was expected to be the starter. He falls off, comes back a year later, knowing his role in the backup, alleviating pressure off of himself, and he just thrives. Did it in Vegas, did in Pittsburgh. Like, he's done it multiple times before. So I know the age is obviously an issue, and some people will be like, fuck, he's old. But, I mean,
doesn't have many injury issues.
Bet on the
so
talent,
it's like,
right?
We'll see.
Bet on the talent. So one more guy that I had just to round out goalies. I had the other guy I had on this list was Jack Campbell. And the only reason why I
forgot about him.
The only reason why I had Jack Campbell is because he was literally horrendous last year, and
he's one of the worst goalies in the league.
And like literally, he just has to be below average, like a below average NHL goalie to be a bounce back. So like if he gets an 895, I think Oilers fans would be ecstatic about that. Like,
yeah. I mean, that is technically like a bounce back.
That's a bounce back. It's crazy. 3-4-1 goals against. I mean, like, he got torched. He got torched. So.
Oh yes, he did. So I've got a defenseman left.
Yeah, you got a defenseman left.
So and I could go two ways with this. So you don't have any D-men left, right?
I do not have any D-men left.
So no. I can spew my thoughts on this one.
That's you can muse about your defenseman.
Spew.
Go for it.
I want to look up one thing real quick. Okay, no, that's a bad one. I'm going to go with Matt Dumba. I think a change of scenery finally. I mean, this is his first time in his career, if I'm not correct. Then he's moving away from Minnesota. He's going to play in Arizona. Like, I don't know, only 5,000 fans for 41 games a year.
Less pressure.
Probably gonna
less people in the stadium. That's assuming it sells out.
Which ton there too. Obviously not going to be a power play guy because they have Sean Durzi there. But I think the increased playing time, alleviating of pressure will really help him there. When you look at the numbers, he was even like an even bigger drop in terms of shooting percentage, on ice shooting percentage, drop in 5-on-5 points per 60 differential. All of those good numbers. He dropped off higher than Morgan Rielly, actually. In terms of other guys I was thinking of, I mean, Victor Hedman dropped from 85 points to 49. Obviously, he's not the primary power play guy there anymore, so that really did affect it. Injuries really affected it as well, but he's still a beast of a human. It's going 33, so I think there is still some game left. So a bounce back for Victor Hedman is likely. You hate to say it because he's, maybe not the best locker room guy. No, not that one. For this next guy, you hate to say it, but Tony DeAngelo possibly.
Okay.
Lesser role,
for different reasons,
better team, more insulated. He's been there before. That could be a good one. In terms of the biggest drops in production and shooting percentage and everything, it was Aaron Ekblad, but he's going into the year injured again, so it's just you can't pick him.
I think that's a little bit of a cheat, I would say. So
So there's one more guy I see on this list, and I'm curious. I didn't think he had that bad of a year. No, never mind. I'm not even gonna say it. It's not worth it.
Oh, okay. So who's your pick?
Those are a few guys, but
you gotta make your pick.
Dumba.
Though.
I said Dumba.
Oh, Dumba. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, you did. Sorry. I don't know.
And I went lefty righty too. Not bad. I think he's righty, right?
I want to say no. I went righty, which is idiotic. Like how did that happen? Like,
so you have one more forward left. Let's hear it.
I got one more forward left, and it's gonna be of the same vein, the same thought process, the same little thread that I went on with Moritz Seider. A guy who, honestly, no. Now that I think about it, what am I talking about? He also was absolutely terrible points wise year over year. So the year previously, 54 games played, 47 points. This guy almost averaged a point per game. This year, 68 games played, 31 points. Had a lot of trouble, ended up a lot in the penalty box this year. I mean, he just wasn't the same player he was the year before. I don't know if it was the magic of being in Florida in that 2021, 2022 year when that team was just nuclear, scoring a ton of points. Pick. I'm going to go with Mason Marchment. Formerly.
I'm going to cut you off. What's very funny, he's the last pick in our draft, and he's at the top of this sheet.
He's
at the top of the sheet. Huge drop in 5-on-5 production per 60. Huge drop in shooting percentage. 6.61% drop in shooting percentage at 5-on-5. On ice shooting percentage, he dropped 4.97. He is the highest drop in all of those categories for forwards. I mean, this was just such a no-brainer, and it took us to the last pick. I almost forgot about him. I'm trying to outsmart myself here. Tarasenko over him. What am I doing?
You got the propaganda just the Ottawa propaganda spewing in your brain. You gotta chill. Dave's gotta chill for a sec because it's infesting that brain of yours. But no, like Mason Marchment, like 2 years ago, I mean, he was arguably the best bottom six forward in the NHL. That may sound like a silly thing to say, but his production was of a high-end second line forward, and he was playing on their third line, playing third line minutes as well. That's the biggest thing, is that his time on ice was a lot lower, and he was producing almost a point per game. If you extrapolate that in points per 60, he was one of the highest points per 60 players in the entire NHL at 5-on-5 in that 21-22 year. Now you fast forward to this 22-23 year, and oh my God, he was abysmal. He did not find his fit in Dallas. And again, I don't know, like, I was hesitant to take him as a bounce back guy because maybe it's the change in scenery. Maybe it's the change in line mates. He did have good line mates in Florida, but I think the talent is still there for Mason Marchment to be at the very least a 40, 50 point player, given his minutes. Not like I'm not expecting him to play on the second line, but I think with Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin playing so well, it kind of hurt his production a little bit, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I think just Mason
he increased in ice time. His average time on ice increased by 1 minute and 35 seconds from last year to this year. And his points total dropped.
Plummeted.
16 less points in 14 more games.
Yeah.
6 less goals. Wow.
And if you look at the underlying numbers as well, according to Evolving Wild, he went from the 95th percentile player to the 14th percentile player. I don't know if
was it a flash in the pan?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It might have been a flash in the pan, but I think that last year was too much of a drop. Too much of a regression that he's going to regress back. So it was like, he's not, listen, I'm not saying he's not going to be the player he was in Florida, but he's not as bad as the player he was last year.
No.
And he's somewhere in between. and that's where I expect him to be.
It's a good pick.
So that's my last pick, Mason Marchment. Any other forwards you got? I'm just going to list off a couple that I had in the Calgary Flames vein. Nazem Kadri. I think you can just take anyone on Calgary. Tanner Jeannot is another guy I had on my list. Just simply because I trust and I believe in the Tampa Bay Lightning's ability to produce good young talent.
That's a good one.
They gave up a lot for him. They're obviously seeing something that we don't. I am going to side with Tampa until I am wrong and until they're wrong. So,
Anton Lindell. That's another one.
Lindell's a good one.
Drop in 5-on-5 production, drop in shooting percentage by 4.79%. That's massive. On ice shooting percentage dropped by 4.81. This is still a young player, showed a lot of promise. I think he's a very good player, and he'll have a much better season.
Yeah, I like that. And then last one I had on the list,
Elias Lindholm.
Elias Lindholm, yeah, he could be one too. I honestly, again, like I said, you can take anyone on Calgary, and I think you can make a case for them
Flames.
To say that again.
You're taking the whole Flames team?
I'm taking the entire Flames team as my bounce back team. So last guy I had though that we didn't mention, Jacob Vrana. I think the talent is there. It's just all about if he's going to play or not.
Yeah.
He played a little bit towards the end of the season last year, put 14 points in 20 games for the St. Louis Blues.
What about why did I click off of him if I'm right here? What about Cole Sillinger? Had a good rookie season.
Yeah.
Was very young, came into the league like 18 years old, and then this past year was horrible.
I mean, sent back down to the AHL.
Again, it couldn't have gotten any worse. Did he have any points?
He had 11 points in 64 games. The previous year, he had 31 points in 79.
I think one of them might have come against the Leafs, which is very fun.
That's just so on brand for us. So.
I'm just going to guess because why not? 31 points and then drop to 11 points.
Crazy.
My God, what happened? So I think that's a pretty good bet. Over 11 points, Cole Sillinger.
Yeah, that's a good one. Any other ones you got, or is that? If you feel like we missed anyone, comment down below, tweet at us, let us know
Johnny
who your thoughts
Gaudreau.
are. Johnny Gaudreau, yeah, that's another guy. But here's the thing: I was looking at him in Line A before we go. I just want to touch on this. I was looking at him in Line A. I was shocked at him in Line A's production. Line A was almost a point per game last year. He just got hurt. Line A had, I think it was. Let me pull up his stat. He had 52 points in 55 games. Where the hell did that come from? And then Gaudreau had 74 and 80. Like not say like
it was good. Again, so that I could be wrong. Maybe
team.
He was a career high, like high in Calgary, and then went to Columbus. Was still very good in Columbus, just wasn't 120 points or whatever. So
yeah,
could be wrong there. That's a good point.
Yeah, no, I was just shocked at like how well I thought.
Yeah,
in my head, those guys were like horrible this year. I'm like the easy bounce back. And then I'm looking, I'm like, wait, how do they get this many points relative to the team? And it's hilarious because if you look at the team's point total, it's like the 4 guys who play on the power play and then everyone else. It's like a 20-point drop off everyone else. So yeah.
Yep.
If we missed anyone, let us know.
Let us know. Yep. You have anything else?
That's it for me today.
That was all I have. Thank you for everyone for listening.
Go Leafs, go.